The Sweet Porridge, retold by Bella Koral. There was once a little girl who lived with her mother in a small cottage at the edge of a village. Though the mother worked as hard as she could for long hours every day, they were so poor that they often did not have enough to eat. One day, when there was nothing left in the house for supper, the little girl went out into the woods hoping to find berries or nuts which they could eat. In the woods she met a strange little old woman. The old woman saw that the little girl's face was sad. "You seem troubled, child. What is the matter?" "I am looking for food for my mother and myself, for we have none at home," replied the little girl. The old woman pulled a small iron pot from under her cloak. "Take this pot," she said. "It is magic. Just say to it, 'Cook, little pot, cook,' and it will cook you nice, sweet porridge. And when you say, 'Stop, little pot, stop,' it will stop cooking until you want it to cook again." The little girl thanked the old woman, took the pot, and ran home to her mother. The magic pot worked just as the old woman had said it would. No longer did the little girl and her mother ever go hungry, for whenever they wanted food, the girl had only to say, "Cook, little pot, cook," and they would have a steaming pot of sweet porridge, enough to fill their two bowls. Then the girl would say, "Stop, little pot, stop," and the pot would stop, and they would sit down to eat. One day, when the little girl was away visiting friends at the far end of the village, some neighbors stopped in to call on her mother. The mother was eager to show them how the wonderful gift worked. So she said, "Cook, little pot." The magic pot began to bubble and steam, and before the astonished eyes of the neighbors, a sweet porridge filled the pot. The mother set the table with bowls and spoons for the neighbors, and by this time the little pot was nearly filled. But now the trouble began. The mother could not remember the right word to stop the pot from boiling over. "That's enough, little pot," she said. "Cool off, little pot," she ordered. "No more, please, little pot," she cried. But the little pot kept right on cooking and cooking and cooking more porridge. The porridge bubbled over the pot and down over the stove. It ran over the floor and streamed across the shoes of the neighbors. Soon it was flowing like a river, out the cottage door and down the village street. Standing on a chair, the mother kept wringing her hands and shouting at the pot, but since she couldn't think of the right words, the pot kept cooking and cooking and cooking, and the river of sweet porridge kept flowing through the village street, pouring into houses and cottages all along the way, and nobody could stop it. The villagers ran from their houses, and finally the stream of porridge reached the last house in the village where the little girl was visiting. Hearing the shouts and cries of the villagers, she ran to the door and learned what had happened. Someone got a boat and rowed the little girl through the river of porridge to her own house. As soon as she came near her house, she began calling, "Stop, little pot, stop!" Soon the stream of porridge began to stop flowing, and she knew the pot had stopped cooking. So the village was saved from drowning in porridge. But to get back to their homes, the villagers had to eat their way through that river of sweet porridge. You may be sure that from then on, the mother never started anything unless she was quite sure she knew how to stop it. The end.